Here, Fantasy Football Live. We are getting to the conference championship games this weekend. Now, if you want free notes on those games, got over 20 pages at this point. You can get those by going to my X profile at Jim Coventry NFL. You'll see it pinned to the top of my profile. You'll just like and retweet that, and I'll DM you a link to read those notes. Got the injury reports. I've got the breakdowns by position. Got predictions, narratives, and prop bet ideas, which I'll go over those in this show as well. Also, we'll continue to do this RotoWire Fantasy Football Live show throughout the offseason. Certainly be back on Monday with Anthony Servino going over the reactions to those big Sunday games. We'll probably do an extra show next week after the Super Bowl. We'll obviously do a reaction show, but then we'll go a couple days a week through the offseason. When we get near the free agency and the draft peaks, of course, we'll ramp things up. And we will be soon, probably around draft time, developing a RotoWire YouTube NFL channel, and we'll make you a note for that so you can start moving over that way. Finally, SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Channel 87. If you have that, I will be on Friday night with Mario Puig, 8 to 10 Eastern. And then Saturday and Sunday, 1 to 3 Eastern. And that Sunday show is right before kickoff. It ends right before kickoff. So that'll be like a pregame show for you. Make sure you join me there. Finally, the marathon, the week of the Super Bowl, the Monday and Tuesday before, 58 analysts for Super Bowl 58. It's going to be quite the spectacle. More coming out on that, but you want to join us for that. And then if you want a free RotoWire membership subscription, 2 days, no credit card needed. Go to rotowire.com/radio, and we've got you covered for fantasy and gambling, every sport. We got college basketball, golf, NASCAR, bowling, and in my opinion, the best baseball coverage on the planet. So again, rotowire.com/radio. Check it out. All right, here we go. Conference championship games. Started out with the Ravens and the Chiefs. Injury report first. I think that's an important place to start. So Marlon Humphrey, the corner for the Ravens, he is limited in Thursday's practice. It looks like he may be trending toward playing, and he is their best corner. But realistically, it's been crazy with him over the last couple of years. When he misses time, the Ravens play a great zone, a lot of great communication, and they tend to do well even if he doesn't play. Of course, if he's on the field, they're even better because obviously you put a exceptional player in there, you're going to be better. But it will be great if they have him, but the Ravens defense certainly can do well without him. Now, a depth cornerback, Rock Ya-Sin, he did miss Thursday practice with knee injury, but he's not seeing a lot of snaps right now, so don't really sweat that one. The Ravens do not have significant injuries on offense, so they come into this very, very healthy. Other side of the ball, the Chiefs. Isaiah Pacheco, I believe, is strategically being held out. He's had quite the workload. He did have shoulder surgery last month. Obviously, he's not the biggest guy, and he runs, which is a violent style. They need to really keep him as fresh as possible. So he's fully expected to play, so don't worry about that. And, of course, Jerick McKinnon's been on the IR for a while, and he is not going to play here. And that, he has missed in a game like this, a weapon in the passing game like he is. But obviously he was not in line to return. That's problematic. Now, left guard Joe Tooney, pectoral injury. Some people are just saying he's out. He's listed as doubtful. Doesn't seem like he's going to play. He did miss Wednesday and Thursday practices. That's going to be tough because when we break this game down a little bit, we'll talk about the idea the Chiefs are going to need to run the ball, and I'll explain why and how in a little bit. And I'll explain, but not having him is going to be a bit problematic because that interior line is important. Now, I do want you to know, though, Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith, the center and the right guard, they are actually this year, they're better run blockers than Tooney. Tooney will be missed, but Smith and Creed Humphrey are the butt kickers a little bit more than Tooney. Tooney's been okay in run blocking, but he's certainly better than the next man up, right? But I'll explain the ramifications of that when I get into the game breakdown. And then the Chiefs side of the ball defensively, Derek Nottie, their nose tackle, he missed last week with a triceps injury, still hasn't practiced. And that hurts because having that nose tackle, a run defense that struggles as it is, not having him is a bit problematic against the Ravens, who are going to probably try and run, and I'll get to that in a minute as well. Now, middle linebacker Willie Gay had a neck injury, came out early last week. He was used as a spy on Josh Allen, but he did have limited practices Wednesday and Thursday. It seems as if he's trending towards playing. And that will be a really important part of their defense because they certainly will use him in a capacity to do some shadow work on Lamar Jackson. Now, L'Jarius Sneed, they're one of their top corners. They're McDuffie. Trent McDuffie is really good as well. Limited practice with a calf injury for Sneed for Wednesday and Thursday. He seems to be trending toward playing, but if he somehow misses this game, that would be a crushing blow, in my opinion. Now, safety Mike Edwards had a concussion. He needs to clear with the independent neurologist. He did practice limited fashion on Thursday, but that really is immaterial. You just got to get cleared by the neurologist. So there's that. Now, he's a backup to start. So they're already playing with depth, but he hasn't been playing well. So, I mean, yes, the drop-off will be another drop-off if they have to go to the next guy up, but it's not like he was shutting anybody down in run or pass defense. So realistically, it's not the worst loss in the world, although you never want to lose and go to the next man up. Okay, so as we look at this game, first, let's break this down a little bit. I won't do the painfully long breakdown. I'll give you enough to work with here. So Chiefs side of the ball. It is going to be very difficult for them to have consistent, continued success in the passing game against this Baltimore defense. This is arguably the best pass defense in the league. Their zone is great. When they play big nickel, they move Kyle Hamilton into the slot. They could even put him on Kelsey if he's in the slot at that point. And certainly that could be a very difficult matchup. And on the other hand, the Chiefs have been getting good usage of their run game. And what I want to point out is we know in past years, they definitely go 2 tight end sets. They'll sometimes go 3. Now, the 2 tight end sets, we call them 12 personnel. The 3 tight end sets, we call 13 personnel. Last week against the Bills, we saw a little more of that 13 personnel. And what we see, the reason for that is you want to get extra bodies in the run game. And you know that opposing defenses, they can't oversell putting big personnel in because they're still Patrick Mahomes. And if you sell out light in the secondary, Patrick Mahomes will crush you. And so you always have to keep enough nickel defenders out there, that 5 defensive back look. You often have to do that because you can't roll the dice on it. You're more willing to let them win and dare them to win with the run game than to win with Patrick Mahomes. And the Kelsey, I think, I just want to point out about Kelsey. Kelsey's had 2 really nice playoff games, averaging around 70 yards. He had the 2 touchdowns last week. This was very different than his regular season. Well, the Buffalo game, we knew that they were down to A.J. Klein at linebacker. Wonderful player, but he can't cover. And Andy Reid is one of those coaches. He knows circle in the game plan. We will attack. And they completely did that. They got Kelsey isolated on A.J. Klein. They just ripped them up and they had no answers. They weren't going to have answers. And then you go back to the wild card game where Kelsey did well against Miami. Miami was a gutted defense in terms of injuries. So again, it was very easily attackable. And Vic Fangio's defense also gives you the middle of the field. So Kelsey had 2 good games, but those really were predictable. I'm worried about this week. Those 2 good games don't help him here because Baltimore wakes back up to the idea that Kelsey may still be able to play at a somewhat high level. If they commit resources to him, whether that be Kyle Hamilton, whether that be a bracket, Kelsey's at that stage right now where it's a problem. He's not the player he was. We know that. And to take him out of the game, it is not a reach that they can do that. The chemistry between Mahomes and Kelsey is certainly great, and they have that going for them, but the big plays aren't there. And I'm not convinced that Kyle Hamilton can't, if he's assigned to him at times, I'm not convinced that Kelsey could beat him. And so that's going to be interesting. Rashee Rice, they move him around. They play him in the slot a lot, which would be useful. I think in the slot might be better because I think you get the better mismatches there for him as opposed to the outside where, again, the cloud coverage and the zone they run is difficult. But it comes down to this. I mentioned it earlier. I think the Chiefs, if they're really studying this game out, they are coming in with a lot of 13 personnel, 3 tight ends on the field. If the Ravens decide to actually answer with more heavy bodies, which I don't think they will, Mahomes is very comfortable throwing out of that with great looks and some single coverages. But I think they're going to run the ball because all year the Ravens play with some of the lightest fronts in the league. You can run on them unless they're beating you. And that was the thing. They won so many games easily that teams had to stop running the ball on them. As long as this game is close, the Chiefs are likely, again, likely, you never know what a coach is going to do. They're going to run the football. And I think they're going to have outstanding success with that. This is a defense you can get to on the ground, and you load up those tight ends. There are so many bodies, you just can't account for them in the blocking game. And you call the run plays, and you kind of see where the advantages are. And I do think Pacheco is able to do pretty well here. And so that's the key to success for me on their side. Now, on the other side for the Ravens, this is going to be interesting. Obviously, this offense under Todd Monken has been phenomenal this year. This is a great running team. And of course, they've gotten plenty done through the air. Now, the passing yardage isn't big because they commit to that run game. And Lamar Jackson often doesn't have to throw for big yardage. And that's just kind of the way things work. They're very successful that way. Well, in this matchup, Derek Nottie, I said, the nose tackle hasn't practiced this week. He missed last week. That's going to hurt. I believe that the offensive line is exceptional in the run blocking game for the Ravens. And Lamar Jackson adds that element to the run game when he uses that RPO action. The linebackers always have to freeze, and it allows players like Gus Edwards and Justice Hill and maybe a sprinkling of Dalvin Cook to have some success. So I do think that the game plan is going to be, we run the ball. We don't think Kansas City could stop us on the ground, so we are going to do what we do best. We'll throw when we need to, but we don't really want to fool with that Kansas City secondary. We know that Steve Spagnuolo is going to probably have a blitz-heavy game plan, especially if there are passing downs, and this could be a tougher matchup. So I think the Ravens go with their strengths in their run. But as we're looking at this, both teams, that's where their advantage is. It's in the run game. And it's not like Gus Edwards and Justice Hill. It's not like they're going to be ripping off 20-yard runs. They're going to move the chains. And that means the clock's going to wind and they're going to be longer drives. The same thing for the Chiefs. Pacheco can get a longer run, but that's really, he's going to be similar to what Edwards and Hill are. They're going to be able to move the chains. I don't know that there are a lot of pass attempts unless one team gets well ahead of the other here, and that may not happen. If that's the game script you're going with, then I don't see how it hits the over. I just don't see it because there won't be enough plays run for it to hit. It's going to be a run fest, and both teams will be comfortable and successful, and they probably don't need to go away from it. So there's that. So overall in this game, look, honestly, we know the Ravens are a better football team. They have the best defense in the league. Their offense has been wildly successful. But the things we can't quantify on the other side of the ball is the legend they have at quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. We liken him in some ways to Michael Jordan, and rightfully so. And they have championship experience. There is no stage that is too big for them. And that's what makes this game very difficult to handicap. Look, if they played this game 10 times, I'm saying this, the Ravens would win 7 or 8 of them. But the problem is that experience, that quarterback, that defensive coordinator who just finds a way to make opposing offenses miserable. And they really have some great talent on that defense, especially in the secondary. I'm not betting this game. I will not bet this game because it's I have to go on narrative to pick the Chiefs. And the other side, yes, I get it that the Ravens are better, but 3.5 points, man, it's more than a field goal. That's a tough one. I will lay off it. Look, my pick is going to be the narrative side, even though it's 8 out of 10 wins or 7 out of 10 wins for the Ravens against this team. I just really feel the big stage is a big deal, and having Mahomes is a big deal. But again, I'm not confident enough to bet the game. So whichever team you're taking, break it down yourself beyond what I'm going with and pick your winner because it could go either way. I am picking it to be 19-16 as a final. So I only see 35 points on the board. I think there are quite a few field goals here. I think both teams are going to stiffen significantly in the red zone and make it very tough to score. So that's what my lean is. I am taking the Chiefs to win. It's with zero confidence. So, I mean, look, I'm an analyst, right? But I've got to be honest with you. I'm not just going to pick a team and say, oh, well, this is it, done. No, either team's going to can win this game, and I would not be surprised with any of the outcomes. So that's why I'm not betting this one. Now, the props are props I like here. First of all, Isaiah Pacheco over 14 and a half rush attempts. First of all, he's been getting that regularly. B, if you follow my logic and you agree with it, that the way for the Chiefs to compete is not challenging that Ravens pass defense, it's getting it going in the run game. And if you see this game being at least close, he has to go over that total. They're not getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire a lot of carries. That's not what they do. So I am going Pacheco over the rush. I can't bet the yardage over because, look, I know you can get to this Baltimore defense on the ground. I'm more confident in the rush attempts than I am the yardage. Pacheco may go over that 63-ish yards, may go over that, but I'm way more confident about the rushing attempts. The next one is Lamar Jackson under 208.5 passing yards. And this is not a knock on Jackson. It's, again, if you agree with the game script of run heavy. And remember, Kansas City is amazing against the pass. I don't know how many pass attempts Lamar Jackson's going to have. The Chiefs limit explosive passing plays extremely well. You can get to them in play action. You definitely can. But with the success they likely have on the ground, I just don't know that Jackson has to attempt a lot of passes. And I don't see a game script where the Chiefs have a type of lead in which Baltimore has to abandon the run game, which is why I like Jackson under that 208.5 passing yards. The third one, I do like under for Travis Kelce at 61 and a half passing yards. I explained it earlier. He's had 70-ish yards, a little biting at 77 one in the two playoff games, but those were both like optimal matchups. This is completely the opposite, and I really believe the Ravens will say, we want to take Kelce away and make Mahomes, when he passes, beat us with the other guys. And Kelce's been under this number a lot this year. The recency bias says he's on fire, but I don't think it's that. So I'm going under on that, but fade that one if you're not confident. If you're of the mindset that superstar players come out when the biggest lights are on, then definitely fade it. Totally get it. But I'm going to go under on that. All right, other game. Lions at the 49ers. This one will be great. Let's go through the injury report on this. Again, very important. We've talked all week. Left guard Jonah Jackson had knee surgery on Monday. The team is listing him as doubtful. He's out. He is not playing. And that's huge to them. Interior line, right? And then also their center, Frank Ragnow. He suffered knee and ankle injuries in the Tampa Bay game, and he's been beat up down the stretch. Now, he'll play, most likely, 99% he'll play, but he is not nearly 100%, and his mobility will be tested in this game. And the 49ers had that front four. And I talk about this often. When you're missing critical components on the interior and you're facing a defensive line that's iffy, you could slide protections. You can really make the cohesion work together. The problem with the 49ers is all four of them are healthy. You got Bosa on one edge. He'll probably be lined up on Penei Sewell a lot. You have Chase Young on the other side. He'll be with Taylor Decker. On the interior, though, you've got Javon Hargrave, who even in that Green Bay game, he was doing what he does, crushing the middle of the pocket, right? And then you got Eric Armstead, now a full week back and healthy from that foot injury. And this is a problem because no Jackson, you got to back up, Ragnow hurt, and you've got these two excellent interior defenders. Hargrave is more of a wrecker in the pass game, but Armstead is a complete player. And this is a really difficult injury for them. Now, Sam Laporta still not putting in full practices, but he played in each round of the playoffs, so we know he's expected to play. But we still wonder if he's 100%, because if he was, you'd think he'd be practicing in full. So I don't think he's quite what he is. Josh Reynolds has a rib injury, practicing limited as of Thursday. Khalif Raymond had week 18 knee injury, not practicing. We don't expect him to play. And their second tight end, Brock Wright, went on the injured reserve after an injury against Tampa Bay. Their third string tight end, James Mitchell, is on injured reserve. So they did sign Zach Ertz. They have Anthony Ferkser on their roster. Don't be surprised if Dan Skipper, the guy who did report, whatever against Dallas, don't be surprised if they use him in a blocking role. He's a lineman, but don't be surprised. Brock Wright blocked a lot. Don't be surprised if you see a little more Dan Skipper than usual in that one. It's possible. Now, defensively, middle linebacker for the Lions, Alex Anzalone has a rib injury, practices on Wednesday and Thursday in limited fashion. Seems likely he'll play. And this is just a cleanup point for a couple of weeks before the divisional round. cornerback Jerry Jacobs, he wasn't playing great, but he had a hamstring. He's on the injured reserve. That just means the Lions tap further in their depth at corner, and they're a bad coverage unit to start, so this doesn't help. So that's the injury breakdown for them. 49ers side, it's only one player to worry about, Deebo Samuel. Now, he had a limited practice on Thursday. They're calling him a 50-50 shot to play in this one. They said he did work even Wednesday, and he was doing some full-speed sprints. It looks probable that he suits up, but the 49ers know. But here's the thing. I want to point this out. The 49ers know what to expect right now. And last week, you lose him in game. That's a problem because you don't do contingency game planning on if a player gets hurt. Well, this week, they know he is hurt. So they probably have a game plan already set to account for him if he's not able to play or if he's limited. So they have been able to address this. And I think that's a big deal. Now, defensively for the 49ers, rotational edge rusher Cleveland Farrell's on the injured reserve. Nobody else. So they're pretty much at full health going into this one. All right. So as we break this down, as we talk about this game, the Lions, they're a very good running team. And they can do any style of running. They're a very good running team. Their biggest success in the passing game is the middle of the field. That's where Jared Goff is most comfortable. They run a lot of in-breakers. They have the great slot receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got Sam Laporta, who's been a great presence in the middle of the field, but he also can line up as an outside receiver and win. Just a very outstanding young player. So when we break this game down, there are a lot of numbers being thrown out about the 49ers defense, but here's what I need you to know about that. The numbers are skewed. So first of all, Chase Young, the pass rusher, he got acquired at the trade deadline, right? And then that gave them a front four that was formidable. But Eric Armstead then a few weeks later injured his foot and missed the last 5 games. So there were very few games when they had all 4 of those linemen. Anya, hello. All right. And so there were very few games the 4 linemen were together. When those 4 linemen are playing, here's the problem. Offensive lines cannot sell out to stop any one of them because they all can beat you in a specific way. And their run defense, I believe, is better with all 4 healthy on the field because what happens is the line can't get their blockers, the offensive line, to the second level to deal with the linebackers. And that frees up the linebackers to flow a bit more and to get to the quarterback or the running back, whatever the play may be. Now, we saw Green Bay have great success on the ground. And the 49ers' biggest weakness on the ground is outside zone. And that's one way you can get to them. So in this game, I don't know that this is a David Montgomery game. David Montgomery's been running a lot more inside, the occasional outside run, of course, but this is not a David Montgomery game. I do think weaponizing Jahmyr Gibbs is a very critical component for the Lions in this game. I think getting him to the outside. They have not used him great in the screen game, and I don't know that that's necessarily going to work because in the screen game, the 49ers will give up catches, but their side-to-side speed at linebacker with Greenlaw and with Fred Warner, it makes it very difficult for running backs to get much yardage after the catch. I think it's going to have to be Gibbs as a runner, getting outside, creating explosive plays from that situation. That's one of their best opportunities. In the passing game, I'm a little bit worried. Jared Goff, again, is at his most comfortable throwing in the middle of the field. And so now when they game plan it, Amon-Ra St. Brown often plays a slot. We've also seen them move him outside. The middle of the field, the 49ers are death against receiving games. Fred Warner basically patrols, and he has the ancillary players around him. You just cannot successfully pass in the middle of the field against the 49ers. And now, all right, let's move on. Amon-Ra St. Brown outside. Well, if the 49ers match him with Charvarius Ward, I do not like that matchup at all. Certainly, St. Brown will get some catches. He's a star, right? He's going to get some catches. He's going to post some yardage, but I don't think he dominates the game in this specific matchup. And again, Laporta, great young player, but the 49ers cover tight ends extremely well. Now, Fred Warner often stays in the middle of the field, but they do have the ability, if they see Laporta, to put him on Laporta when he detaches. And to me, Fred Warner is one of the premier defenders of tight ends when they use him in that capacity. And a limited Sam Laporta, I wouldn't give him much of a chance of beating Fred Warner if that is the matchup we're going to see. So all that said, one more thing about Jared Goff. Jared Goff, he needs to stay in the pocket, right? And if you get to the outside, it's a real problem. And the 49ers, remember I said left guard Jonah Jackson's out. Center Frank Ragnow is limited. If Hargrave and Eric Armstead are able to crush the middle, or if the 49ers stunt Nick Bosa or Chase Young to the middle, they could easily flush Jared Goff to the outside where he's least comfortable, force him to throw to the outside where he's least comfortable. And this could be a very, very bad matchup for Goff. Look, Josh Reynolds, nice player. But I don't see him consistently winning against his defense. I think something the Lions will want to try, though, early downs, try some play action, deep shot or two to Jameson Williams. Get him on Ambry Thomas, maybe the pass interference machine. You could maybe manipulate a couple of those big plays. I don't know that they'll do that. I don't know how successful they'll be, but I think if you show the 49ers the willingness to take shots, I think that naturally could loosen them up a bit. So there's something to be considered from that standpoint. Overall, I do think the Lions struggle a bit here. It's an outdoor venue, a grass field. They play well in that fast surface in Ford Field. They've had a bunch of dome games since week 14. Every game's been in a dome, I believe. This is not an optimal matchup for them. 49ers side of the ball. All right. The Lions cannot defend the pass. We have seen this movie for about 6 or 7 weeks. Almost every quarterback blows over 300 yards. Multiple touchdowns. We saw Nick Mullins average 400 yards in 2 games. Nick Mullins. It's Nick Mullins. We saw Baker Mayfield rip him up for 350 and 3. We saw Stafford 368. We have just seen a consistent group of quarterbacks throw for big yardage. Dak Prescott lit him up. So all that said, their run defense is very good. If they play straight up on defense, because they have to worry about Christian McCaffrey, I don't doubt for a second that Brock Purdy is allowed to run the offense because there will be no answer for Brandon Ayuk. They will have no answer for him. And how do I know that? You go into this game and you say, okay, well, they got a plan to take him out. They didn't do it with Mike Evans. And they didn't have to worry about Christian McCaffrey. They had to worry about Rachaad White. Yet they still had Mike Evans open all day long, and they had no answer for him. If they didn't have an answer for getting anybody near Mike Evans, Brandon Ayuk is a superstar receiver. He just doesn't get the targets regularly. There is like no world where they are defending him or slowing him down in any way. If Debo's on the field, the linebackers simply can't cover. Jack Campbell, if he's on the field, one of the worst pass defenders, and a great run defender, but and even Derek Barnes with a big interception last week, liability in coverage. So whether it's Debo in the middle of the field, if he doesn't play, getting McCaffrey out into the route into the linebacker area, big mismatch. Even Kittle in that area, they have mismatches they will be able to exploit. Now, the run defense, if the Lions at all decide to commit players back to stop the pass, Christian McCaffrey all day long. What are they going to do? They can't afford to lighten that box because of him, because he will crush you. So 3 superstars. Look, Debo being out, and there are people, I want you to be careful with this one. People are saying, 49ers 0-3 without Debo. They were 0-3 without Debo and Trent Williams. Trent Williams is just as valuable to that offense as each of those stars for what he brings that up. He is like the best left tackle in the league. And it's not even close in my mind. So just get that stat and at least understand there's more to it than just saying, than taking cherry picking and saying Debo's out. It was both of them. So anyway, all that said, Brock Purdy should have time to throw. Now, Aiden Hutchins has been great, been phenomenal. I believe a lot of his best games have been at home. The energy of the crowd, the fast field surface at Ford Field. It's on a grass field. It's going to slow him down. Now, look, his matchup with Colton McKivitz, it's a phenomenal matchup. But the 49ers maybe putting extra help on his side, chip him a little bit, maybe put an extra tight end there, slide some protection over. I think they can have answers. But we've seen Brock Purdy get the ball out very, very quickly, extend plays. I don't think it's a major problem here. I don't know how, other than the 49ers shooting themselves in the foot, I don't know how they don't score on almost every possession they have. And that's the problem in this game. The Lions are a great team. They're a wonderful story. They belong in the NFC Championship game, but they're not at home. This is a championship level team they're playing. It's a team that has a significantly better defense than Detroit has. Offensively, they have a significantly better offense than Detroit has. And I don't see Detroit having answers for them. So even if Debo doesn't play, this is one matchup where I don't think it hurts the 49ers. Of course, if they have him, it's even better. So I think the 49ers are covering this game. The story's nice for the Lions, but I just do not see this being that close between these teams. Now, the Lions have a lot of heart and guts, and they play hard for their coach, and I get it. There's that narrative that certainly is there. But this is a 49ers team coming off. The Packers were able to exploit them. The Packers had that versatile offense with great play calling, scheming players open, Aaron Jones in a running game, the offensive line. They had a really perfect package to attack the 49ers because of the Lions. It's St. Brown and it's Laporta. They don't have 4 or 5 receivers deep that could do different things and beat you. And that ultimately to me is the problem. I think the 49ers win this one 31-16. I'm not sweating this. Prop betting. I only like 2 props. I like Brock Purdy over 276.5 passing yards because I think they're going to go pass first. And I like Brandon Ayuk over 80 receiving yards, even if it goes up a little bit. I think he's pretty much going to go over 100. He's done that 7 times this year. Those are the 2 that I'm most comfortable with. There's a world where you start thinking about Jahmyr Gibbs over rushing yardage, but there's a lot more I got to count on. The 2 I feel most confident it will hit under any game script scenario are Purdy and Ayuk. Those are the 2 I'm most comfortable with. All right, everybody. Again, we will be back Monday with a reaction show on this channel. If you have SiriusXM Fantasy Sports channel, make sure you'll catch me Friday night, 8 to 10 Eastern, just channel 87 on XM with Mario Puig. Saturday and Sunday, 1 to 3 Eastern. Sunday will take you right up to kickoff, and we will have a deep dive on these games with Mario Puig on Sunday. We'll have a lighter dive tonight, I should say Saturday deep dive on Mario Puig. Sunday, I'll be the actual co-host, and you get a little more of my insight, pre-game, final thoughts. That'll be great. If you give me a follow on the X at Jim Coventry NFL, I can get you my 20 pages of notes on these conference championship games. All you got to do is you'll find a pin to my profile, like and retweet, and I will DM you a link so you can have those notes and be ready for all things conference championship game. Everybody, thank you for your time. It's the most valuable thing you have. You chose to hang with me. It means more than you know. Enjoy the games, but I hope we interact more before then. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk soon.